We've made a lot of progress in diseases. And I believe over the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see a tremendous amount of progress made in many diseases. And that is primarily driven by technology. Thankfully, we're at a point where we can really utilize technology to its maximum benefit to have the ultimate effect on the most incredible machine ever made by God, of course, and that's the human body.
Hello and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey. I'm your host, Buccellato. Have you ever met a person who seems to have so many values and merits that they are successful and blessed in so many varied skills, and he becomes a world expert in his own field, all while being a man of faith who credits God for surviving his many near-death experiences? Our guest is just such a man. He has $22 billion in assets under management. He's 36 years in his career as the number one Wall Street pet analyst for the healthcare industry. And on top of all of that, he has survived more times than anyone I know, including an old soldier. So I want to say thank you to this man, and thank you for being on the show. This is my good friend, Mr. Jeffrey Kraws. Welcome to our show today, Jeffrey.
Pleasure to be here, Carl.
No, the pleasure's mine. Mine. Folks, you don't know how patient this man is, because we have tried on and off a number of times to do this show, and we actually shot one a week or so ago, and he rightly said, let's do it again. And I agree with him. So here we are, and we're just a couple of old curmudgeons here to speak with you comfortably and relaxed today. Is that right, Jeff?
That is correct, Carl, and I'm glad we finally are underway.
So we're here today, and we're celebrating, as I've said many times. My journeys around the world have brought me to many, many places, and I've met many very interesting people. And everybody has their own story. And everybody seems to have a story that can motivate and stimulate others to be bigger and better than they are. And this man certainly does. You have many, many stories. You have worn many hats in your life. And you are an expert, as I said earlier, in Wall Street and in the health care industry, management, bringing new companies forward. And I know that in this world that we have so many new technologies, so many new things going on. You're the guy to ask what's happening in the medical industry that we should look to. I'm sure AI has a little piece to say about it, and I'm sure stem cells has a little bit to say in immune care. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a moment and ask you to tell us what's new in the medical world.
Well, Carl, there's a lot of new developments in medicine, largely being driven by technology. In the older days, we didn't have the advanced technology that we have, the benefit of utilizing computers to the extent that we can now. AI is certainly being very beneficial in the creation of new targets, the ability to target new diseases, and to really run through many iterations of a product prior to even testing it, figuring out what could work in the human body. One thing is certain, we have not really cured any major diseases in the last 100 years. People will point to vaccines that have done this or that, but we've made a lot of progress in diseases. And I believe over the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see a tremendous amount of progress made in many diseases. And that is primarily driven by technology. Thankfully, we're at a point where we can really utilize technology to its maximum benefit to have the ultimate effect on the most incredible machine ever made by God, of course, and that's the human body.
Amen to that. Amen to that, because nothing has ever been made to compare with God's creation. Nothing.
Nor will it ever.
Never, I know. And you have also had a number of firstly, I know you're a happily married man. You have a couple of sons that are tremendous young men, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. Both Ben and Trevor, they're great athletes, both of them. And they are good, decent people, which is the important part about who they are. They're honorable men, and they believe in their God, and they believe in doing a good job and doing it correctly. And I believe those are the tributes that come from having good parents and good fathers who guide young men into being good people, growing into good people. And I think this world needs that desperately. So I salute you for these young men.
Well, thank you very much. I think, much like investments, the biggest investment you can make is in another human being, and spending the time with the kids. It's a group effort, as you know. It's a team effort. To put that time in, and with God's blessings, if you put the time in and you instill the right values, you end up with wonderful young men. And I'm very fortunate to have two wonderful young men who have a value system that echoes what I think God would appreciate, and one that I think other human beings would appreciate. And basically, don't do unto others unlike you'd want them to do to you. And the value system that I have was instilled by my parents. And now we tried to even up that a little bit with the kids. And thankfully, like you said, blessed with two wonderful young men.
It's amazing. They are tributes to you. They really are. And they're both successful professional athletes. Trevor is a golfer, and he got that from you because you're a golfer. As a matter of fact, you were a champion amateur golfer a number of times, I understand, and probably hold the record, close to the record for the hole-in-one achievement, or near to it, because you've done that many times also. But your golfing experience started a little bit more difficult than the praises and the accolades of being a champion when you were a very young boy. Didn't you have a little difficulty with that?
I did. I happened to be out on a golf course, and there was a group that was coming towards us. And unbeknownst to us, that one of the individuals in that group was actually legally blind, playing with his guide. And I was pounded by a 3-wood from about 75 yards away that shattered a number of the ribs around my heart. And thankfully, I didn't pass away. It was, a millimeter to the left or to the right or up or down. I don't actually recall. And they said the heart would have exploded. I do know that it left quite literally an impression on me. And
an indent as well.
I was in the hospital. It was it swelled up. It was a young man's first experience with physics in an unfortunate way. But once again, blessed to be here, and had been fortunate to in my earlier days do quite well as a professional golfer. Nowhere near the hole-in-one record, by the way.
Oh, come
Colonel.
on.
I only have 6, but it's a good
only
number.
6.
But
Most people never get 1.
but it's not playing enough now. But maybe when I retire a long time from now, I will be pursuing more golf.
Yeah, you have a long time to go before you retire. You're working on some companies now that I know we won't discuss in length, but you're working on some companies that could really revolutionize mankind, change how medicine affects human beings. So I don't want you to retire. I want you to go do that stuff.
Well, that's where I like to spend my time. You can appreciate this. If those of you who haven't read Carol's book, please take the time to read the book. I read it cover to cover, and it was very inspiring in itself, and understanding Carol's journey, if you will, and how life goes through the different seasons. It was a fantastic book, so definitely pick it up and read it. I would definitely encourage everyone to do that.
Thank you so much. I'm going to send him $50 for that endorsement, Coach.
Everyone who takes the time to read it will be very appreciative of the fact that they did, and appreciate Carol even more. But laying the right foundation is, I think, key with what you want to do in life. And then once you're successful at doing something, I believe being able to help others to do it or help others to advance what they're doing is very important. And the dilemma that we have nowadays is too many people are focused on me, and not enough people focused on us. So we're in this world together, and advancing. When I spend my time and choose to spend my time with a company or on a project, I look as to what the benefits could be for mankind. Certainly, time is not free, but time is like the ultimate asset, if you will. You don't know how much of it you have. It's priceless. And you want to make sure that you're spending that priceless asset in a manner where there's going to be something really positive that comes from it. And we look through companies, as you mentioned, for 2.5 decades. I was ranked top 10 in the world for stock performance in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. I was very blessed to be number 1 a few times for stock performance in healthcare by the Wall Street Journal, Zacks, Institutional Investor, and others. But it comes with looking at the pieces that a company has, recognizing what the company needs, and trying to help them get those pieces to advance their business. And I always say our businesses help to take companies to the next level. And when you're spending your time you want to spend your time on something that's going to help take healthcare for mankind to the next level. So
Absolutely.
it's really cool to have done hundreds of financings and IPOs and mergers and acquisitions. That's great. But the net benefit is hopefully you've helped mankind. Hopefully you've helped, and I have. I've helped get medicines approved. I've helped get devices approved. I've helped companies merge to get other products on the market. I've helped them get funds to do research and development to go after novel diseases and make progress against those diseases. And it's that's the most rewarding thing. Actually, it makes you feel good, and it gets me up every day saying, you know, there's so many people that need help, and you and I will be at this situation. Everyone on this call will be at the situation at some point where they will need medical help, and they certainly will hope that whatever disease or whatever ailment they have, that someone had advanced the care in that area.
Absolutely. That's part of recognizing who we are in God's scheme of things in life, and knowing that when we have a calling and a gift of skill that He has given us, we're supposed to use it properly. We're supposed to advance it as much as possible for the good of all. And that's what you do. That's exactly what you do.
It's very motivating, and it's very fulfilling. Seeing people advance the cause, and I've worked with many companies and worked with many brilliant scientists and many brilliant doctors who have had novel ideas that have been able to advance to put products on the market to care for individuals in need. And you just need, for anybody who has some time to volunteer, you can go to an animal shelter for sure. You can also go down to the Veterans Administration or go down to any VA hospital, and you can meet people who have paid the ultimate sacrifice from the standpoint of they haven't died, but they paid the ultimate sacrifice of sacrificing their body and sacrificing their well-being in order to take care of other people. And those people need our help. And those people, every one of them, there's something wrong with every single one of the persons in the hospital. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. Could certainly benefit from some advancement in medicine. And I always hope, since my focus on is healthcare, that when Crystal Research Associates is helping to advance a company, or we're doing our investments through CRA advisors, that we're helping those companies advance something that will help humans.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, there will be in the show notes ways to reach Jeffrey, where you can contact him through his professional agencies and companies that he's involved with, ways to link in and ask questions. It'll all be in the show notes. It'll be clicked through and you'll be able to reach him easily. So I encourage you, if you have questions, if you're just interested in what do I do, I have an estate, or I may have an accomplishment of money that needs to be invested somehow, and I want to put it into medical research, I'm sure he can guide you. That's the kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
Because $22 billion under asset management, that's a lot of money, folks. A lot of money.
It's grown to 23.2, Carl. It's actually grown to 23.2
I didn't talk to him for 2 weeks. It's gone up $1.5 billion. That is a tremendous amount of money. That's a tremendous amount.
We are fortunate enough to advise 9 funds, and it's a lot of responsibility. But it really enables you to see, since people all around the world, companies all around the world, scientists all around the world are constantly sending emails, calls, reaching out, taking meetings with us because they have the latest advancement in diabetes. They're working on a product for diabetes. They know someone who's affected by diabetes. They want to start a company with diabetes. They're doctors who are making advancements, and they've got different treatment alternatives for diabetes. What do we do with this? What do we do with that? It's very fascinating. And certainly it's all of the reading that I have to do, hundreds and hundreds of pages every single day. I don't learn by speaking. I learn by reading and filling my brain, and then trying to discern what is real and what is not real. Very blessed. Theriva Biologics, a company which I own stock in. I'm chairman of the board. It's a New York Stock Exchange company. We published data yesterday that came out. We had our press release, and it talked about the advancements that we have had in pancreatic cancer. So
that's amazing.
It's pretty cool to add a couple of months to the life of people who are affected, and it may work in other cancers, but it was very, very satisfying to see that, after years of their trials, they were able to get through this next step and to help people, because cancer itself is such a devastating disease. And as you know, I've been involved in many companies involved in cancer, including originally starting off in healthcare at Bristol Myers Squibb, heading up competitive analysis. So it's a devastating disease. Everyone knows someone who dies from cancer at some point,
Right.
or everyone knows somebody who's had cancer. And I'm really optimistic that a number of the companies that are out there will make significant progress against cancer, and I certainly wish them all well.
So I know AI is going to be tremendously helpful in all industries because of its capacity. But when you get right down to it, it really requires a human being making decisions and deciding where to put the focus of the tests and the trials and so forth. Right? Isn't that what's needed more than?
Yeah, it does. I mean, AI it has its positives and it has its drawbacks. In writing our research, we don't utilize AI. In evaluating research, we will look at AI and look at it for additional information when I'm looking at a company per se. But in doing the actual research reports, we still do it the old-fashioned way, which is digging and grinding and human due diligence. AI can provide you information. I'm not going to pick on AI. It's provided speed. It's very helpful in many facets. But when you're making critical decisions, it can help you sort through volumes of data faster, and it's certainly invaluable. But you have to make sure that what you're getting is actually accurate. And there still are cases, we've had it this past week, where AI provided information that wasn't exactly correct. So it's computers giving you information. It's information that's taken and amalgamated and put up for you to read. But you still have to use that discerning human element. You look at the airport. I was just in the airport last week flying, and there's a guy in a wheelchair with his veteran's hat on. He's hooked to an oxygen tank. He's 90 some odd years old. I said, "Thank you for your service." And he said, "You're very welcome." And he talked about being in 2 wars, and we're in that line getting ready to go through security. And we get up to security, and this guy who, was probably a hulking Marine at one point, has now been, reduced to, the size of a number 2 pencil.
Yeah.
And his arms are shaking, and, he's got tremors, etc. And the TSA security person says, "You've been randomly selected for and they made the guy get out of his wheelchair."
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
and I said, "How do you randomly select this person?" And they said, "Well, the computer did it." So there's an instance where you have to, as a human, you have to actually use your common sense and
Just
say,
common sense.
common sense. There's a lot of those things at the airport where, they're always, they're always asking you for your ID at the airport. As show me your ID, show me your ID. And, you listen to people and you watch people tell the stories there. And it's like, I'm fairly certain that as I worked in the World Trade Center, as you know, Carl, we didn't get to that yet, but I was, fortunate enough to survive 2 of those bad incidents.
Twice, folks. Twice.
Yeah. Yeah. People ask what are the odds of your building being bombed twice? It can happen. It actually can happen. And the last time it happened, a few thousand people died. So, you think about, what they do at the airports, et cetera, and they're trying to keep us safe and not to go down a rabbit hole. But I'm fairly certain that all those people who got on the planes to blow them up, I'm fairly certain they had accurate IDs. It said,
Of course.
whatever. So they're still focused on that. So there's the spot where the human element has got to go to the next, you've got to go to the next level and say, think it through. So back to the answer to your question, AI, very helpful. Science, it will certainly help advance science. The human element is very important. And it's actually the human element because machines aren't, people will argue with me on this one, machines aren't clearly thinking yet. There are machines that can be trained to do tasks, and there certainly is artificial intelligence that are trained to respond to things based on what the inputs are. But still, the element of human decision-making is very critical, and the creativity, the inventiveness, if you will. You were, a forefather of an industry, and you came up with an idea and did very well with it. That was not something that was created by a machine. That was something that was created by you. So I'm still a big fan of the human spirit, the human intuition, the I have a dream, the I have a goal, and people who sit there and say, "Hey, I've got a problem. and here's the problem. And they look around and they go, wow, he has a problem and she has the same problem. I'm going to work on a solution to the problem. And I always tell people, never be discouraged. Never be discouraged and believe when people tell you something can't be done. It can do it if you believe in it, if you put your heart into it, if you're willing to
Absolutely.
sacrifice enough, you give it a go. And if it's meant to be, that's where you're going to, that's where you're going to end up.
Absolutely. I've said this many times on the show, and it seems there's always a good reason to say it. One of my favorite inspirational quotes of all time was Winston Churchill during World War II. Got on the radio to the English people that were being battered down by the Blitzkrieg every night, bombs on bombs on bombs. And he said, we have 5 words to success. If we follow these 5 words, we will surely prevail. Never, 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 never quit. And they did prevail. And they did. They overcame what at that time was the most powerful army in the world, with the Blitzkrieg and the German army. But I
Never
believe
quit.
that. I believe that we have to. If we first of all, we have to be sure that what we know about and we follow is correct, and then follow it. Because as we said earlier, God made this great human body of ours, but he also gave us this magnificent brain that even till today, we only know about 10 or 12% of its capacity. We don't even know what we're capable of yet. And I think science will show us as we go further and further into the future that we're capable of much more than we realize, much more.
Absolutely. We've only touched the surface of our potential, and there's so much to be done.
So I said earlier in the show that you have 2 fabulous young athletic sons. One of them we mentioned, Trevor, and the other is Ben, who I know a little bit more personally than Trevor, because he was a guest on one of my shows. And about a little over a year ago, he was in university playing hockey, working for an achievement on an award, a prestigious award. And now, a year or so later, he is in the Stanley Cup playoff. I mean, and that is incredible to go that distance in that amount of time. Proudly tell us about your son.
Well, I'll tell you about both of them. So Trevor, which we mentioned briefly, Trevor won the junior PGA championship for the state of New Jersey a number of years ago. As you said, is a very accomplished golfer. Very blessed to have 2 tremendous athletes, and he's really good. Dad, who's won many tournaments, is proud to be on the bag for him to watch things and shake my head with amazement inside about his accomplishments. And he had many opportunities to play Division I golf. He had the offers, he had the scholarships, and he said to me, Dad, I won't be able to do this dual major in engineering that I want to do as successfully if I have to do the golf. So I would really like to focus on both of those. And since it wasn't him saying he wanted to go out and party at the bars, I said, okay, then skip the scholarship. So he did. It went on to do extremely well undergrad and then get his master's grad and, be up there at a 3.9 GPA. And Ben, as you mentioned, was up for the Hobie Baker Award last year, led the nation right up to the last couple of weeks with 9.8% of the national vote. And I think the next closest person was Joey Snuggerud, who's a phenomenal hockey player, who's also playing in the National Hockey League, who was 4.6%, I believe, at the time. And Ben has advanced from St. Lawrence University, where he did really well. They lost in the finals last year in the ECAC to Cornell by a goal. He advanced to having many NHL offers and accepting his offer from the Dallas Stars, and played for the Dallas Stars in the preseason and played AHL games and played in ECHL games. Actually played for, I think, all those 3 teams, I think, in the same week, and has been called up to Dallas now for the Stanley Cup Finals as the Stanley Cup playoffs as the third goalie for them, and is skating with them, practicing with them, and with them every day. And what exciting times for a young man who's 24 years old. So
Absolutely.
His goal is to get up there and play full time, and he's working towards his goal. He recognizes it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you just keep having faith in God, keep having faith in yourself, and work your tail off. And that's what he's doing. So very blessed with 2 hardworking kids. He loves what he does. He loves the Dallas Stars, and he certainly loves playing the role that he has to help in any way he can the team. And it's all about team. And that's where you learn selflessness when you see these guys out there. You want extra reps as the goalie, he's out there. You want extra time as a shooter after the practice, he's out there. So any way that he can help the team, he does it. So,
And I took great pleasure in watching him shut out a number of pro teams game after game after game. That was exciting to see.
yeah, he was fortunate in the ECHL this year. He tied for the most number of shutouts of any goalie, veteran
Yeah.
or rookie. He led all rookie goalies. He led all rookie goalies in minutes played. I believe he led all rookie goalies in wins. I'm pretty certain about that. So, you work hard at each level and you get recognized. And, fortunately, he was called up to the Dallas Stars. And, we'll see where the Dallas Stars can go. Hopefully they go all the way.
Right.
And we'll keep pursuing the dream.
Hey, look, we just saw on TV, folks, today, this the very day while we're shooting this, the very first time in history, an American was named Pope for the very first time in history. So if that can happen through the church, Ben could go all the way too. You never know.
Absolutely. Once again, believe in your goals. I mean,
That's right.
the funnel keeps getting narrower, and it's tougher and tougher to represent your country, which he did for Team USA for Helenka, and become one of the highest ranked in USA history. And he's done really well. And I support my kids as they pursue their dreams, and that's all you can do as a parent.
That's all you can do. Well, this show primarily is about everybody telling their own story, because the story typically has motivation and inspiration for others. This man's story is so varied. There's so many pieces of it. We could do 7 of these shows and never get to all of it. But he just alluded to the fact that he had a number of near misses, near-death experiences, one from a golf ball, death by golf ball, another twice from being in World Trade Center when they were bombed, and you survived both occasions. And I know you've been in accidents and things like that where you were fortunate enough to walk out of it, where others weren't. And I know that you're a great believer in God's will and the direction in your life. So in the last few moments that we have, what do you like to say to young people, or not so young, maybe white hairs like me? What would you like to say to the folks that are watching this in recognition of all of that history?
Well, you hear people say it many times. You hear people say, you'll hopefully they mean it, but you'll ask someone, how you doing today? And they'll say, well, I'm on the right side of the dirt, so it's a great day. But every day, no one expects to die. Unless you've been told you're going to die, no one expects to die. And there are people dying every second of every day around the world. So what I tell people is to really do something during your day that you really enjoy. If that happens to be having a sip of wine or a glass of wine with a significant other, that's great. If it happens to be feeding the birds or walking the dog, that's great. If it happens to be smelling the flowers, that's great. If it happens to be just sitting there and appreciating, feeling the sunshine on your face, people will say to me, well, it's too hot or it's too cold or it's raining. Thank God you can still feel the heat, the cold, the rain, because that day is going to come where the light switch just goes to off. And it's going to happen sooner than you think. And it's going to happen probably without much notice. If it doesn't happen without much notice, and God forbid you get a diagnosis of some terminal disease where you've got to sort of wait it out, but you're going to die, and then you're going to be thinking about it for a while. Hopefully, before that point in time, you've done a lot of the things that you wanted to do in life. So my advice would be, make sure that people who you care about, people who have an impact on your life, people who you want to know that you want them to know how much they mean to you, make sure you tell them that. Make sure you tell them that, because you never know it's the last time you see them. And take the time during the day I always take time to make people smile. I love making people smile. I love making people laugh, and try to have a positive impact on someone's life. It doesn't matter whether it's the stranger you run into the street, the lady who you're helping with the groceries at the store, the veteran who you're helping get out of his wheelchair so he can walk through a ridiculous security system at the airport. But do something to show someone that you appreciate them, that you care about them. And if everybody worked on putting a smile on someone's face once or twice a day, the world would be a better place. But do not take today for granted, because tomorrow is guaranteed to no mortal man.
Great advice. That reminds me of the old story, or the old poem by John Donne. I think it's John Donne or Don John. I can't remember his name right now. Where he says, no man is an island unto himself. that we are all part of each other. And for each man who drops in battle, I die a little. And for each child that
Absolutely.
stands and walks, I am renewed and I live.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
And if anyone out there needs help with a private company or a public company, if there's companies that you've invested in that you think you'd like to ask me a question on, or you think they need help, at Crystal Research, we are always available. I've been very blessed with a great business partner for several decades, and she is fantastic. And the team of our 23 research analysts work very hard to help public companies and private companies, small businesses and massive businesses, get to the next level. And we have a very gifted team with well over 100 years of experience that, really sees things that people can't see. How often are you looking at something where someone will read the same thing over and over again and you pick it up and you're like, oh, there's this mistake, that mistake. And oh man, you're focused so much on it. It's good to get a fresh set of eyes. Well,
Right.
we bring the business skills that you've talked about into a situation to help companies get to the next level, get a partnership, get a collaboration, get funding, go public, get sold, whatever it happens to be. So if I can help you in any way, please reach out to me.
What more can you ask for, folks? The contact information is in the story notes. You'll click on, you'll reach this wonderful wealth of asset here of information. And God bless you, where it takes it. So I want to remind you that this show, as I've said a couple of times prior, is all about everyone having their own story. You've just heard Jeffrey's story. I know you know my story because I tell it all the time. Tell your story before it's too late. Make sure you tell the people you love. Write it down. Send it to a newspaper. Send it to the local television network for news. Get them to understand what wealth you have to share. Because when it's too late, and all that wisdom is gone. Share your story. It's important. And I will tell you something that's very similar to what Jeffrey said a few moments ago. Get someone you know today, grab them in a big bear hug, and tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. It may be the only time they hear those words. And I'm quite sure God loves them also. I know he loves Jeffrey. I know he loves you. And I know he loves me. Tell someone you love them today. Very important. So how I'm going to close this show, right, Jeffrey? How I'm going to close this. I love you, man. If I were there with you, I'd give you the biggest bear hug you ever had in your life.
Thanks, Carl. Look forward to receiving that in person. Till then, do good, take care, and God bless.
God bless. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Thank you, Jeffrey, for being with us.
Thank you.